Hello and welcome to Discovering Grayslake, unveiling the stories and people that make our town so unique. I'm your host, David Woll, and I'm thrilled to bring you this new podcast that explores fascinating stories and experiences of local business owners and community leaders, right here where we call home. Grayslake Rehabilitation Center is a community-based private practice physical therapy provider. Do you know they have 13 clinical providers with various levels of specialties, including orthopedics, sports, neurology, vestibular, geriatrics, pelvic floor, and aquatic? What? Did I just say they have a pool? Well, they do, and it's the largest indoor warm water pool in Lake County, featuring 2 underwater treadmills and swim currents, and recently added clinical treatment specialties, in layman's terms, shockwave. They have both radial and focus units that are the newest tool in regenerative medicine, available to everyone. They pride themselves on the most current and up-to-date specialized care to keep you moving. If you're looking for physical therapy, make sure to see our friends at Grayslake Rehabilitation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grayslake. I am recording once again today from Agora Co-working, which is on the corner of Atkinson and Center Street. Luke over here runs a co-working place. So if you guys are looking to get your business out of the house for a day, for a week, for a month, for even a lifetime home, Agora is a cool place to come. So if you don't know what it is, come check it out. So today I'm sitting down with, I've been after John for a long time.
It's been a while. You've been asking me for years.
It's fun that we've been doing it long enough that I could say we've been doing it for years. So John and I, he works out a lot more than I do, but through the gym, but he's got his headphones on, and I considered you a friend until he ignored me for a whole year at the gym. So John Santner.
When I'm there, I wear headphones and focus because I usually only have so much time, and if I get talking, which is fun and enjoyable, then I don't get to work.
Right, and then you're in a zone. There are guys over there that all they do is walk around and talk. I don't know how they're so big. Yeah, I'm big, but not in the way that I'm supposed to be.
They're usually talking and sitting on a machine that I'm trying to get on, but that's all right.
That's a whole nother story. So we're here today to talk about the freeze.
Okay.
So, which I formerly known, I still have a really hard time, just to tell you that, not calling it Tastee Freeze.
Yeah.
I think we should start there. So, my mother worked at Tastee Freeze when she was in high school here back in the 50s. And she said all the hot girls worked there, and everybody that was cool worked at Tastee Freeze.
Yeah.
So let's first of all talk about name and how that changed.
So, I mean, I guess it starts even sooner than that, is like how we bought it, right? So that was in like 97, 98. It was technically June 1st of 98, but I had heard it was up for sale in 97. Talked to my brother and some family members, and we ended up actually completing the sale June 1st of 98, and that was with family members. And then 3 years in, they were looking to move on, and I was looking to try and take it over essentially at that point on my own. So 3 years in, then we transferred over to me at that time, and Tastee Freeze is a franchise. It's just not as well known as McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, stuff like that.
So you'd have to pay fees to Tastee Freeze to use that name.
Yeah. So we paid franchise fees and royalties, and then at a certain point it became, this is how it happened. So one lady owned the rights to open any locations within Lake County, Cook County, and one other county. It was south. It was either DuPage. Well, I don't really know the counties. But she had probably in the city, I would say maybe up to like 100 locations at one time.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to verify that. We'd have to look up and see. But when I bought the store and then when I got involved, I want to say they had somewhere between 10 to 15 left at that point throughout the area. And so then she sold to a bigger technically a bigger company bought Tastee Freeze, but she still got to own the rights to this area, right? Well, when the bigger company bought it, it was a company that owns a couple of different franchises, one of them being Wiener Schnitzel, which is like a hot dog brand that's bigger out west.
Okay.
And I think they also have Hamburger Stand, which I don't even know where they are, but I'm guessing they're out west also. So they kind of bought Tastee Freeze to be a dessert program for Wiener Schnitzel, if I'm remembering what I was told correctly. Okay. And then in order to do that, they also had to put up with all these little locations that were owned by, whoever owned these different areas. So when that happened, we started to see the parent company kind of like want to force us into products that they're familiar with. One of the main ones would be hot dogs, and they had like a turkey hot dog, and I was like, yo, like in Chicagoland area, you're not selling anything that's not beef. Like, it's not going to sell. I'll just look at them until they go bad. So I'm like, I can't do this. So they did allow us to like submit changes from what their like standard menu would be. Okay. But it was like, I was submitting changes for everything. They wanted us to change the mix we use. They wanted us to change from like a fresh strawberries, like real strawberries, to more like a jellified type product. Like if you went to like a breakfast place and they put it on a waffle, And I was like, we're going to have to submit for every single item, because I'm not going to change the quality of what we're giving to the customers just to make this parent company happy. So then at a certain point, there became this opportunity to go independent. And for me, it's no different than like everyone in Grayslake who grew up. It's like Sears Tower. There's all these names that are like, that's what it is, no matter what the new name is. Right. So I was like, well, if we're going to go independent, I have to figure out how do we make it so people understand that like the reason we're changing is so that we can literally stay the same, so to speak. And so I talked with the lawyers for Wiener Schnitz. Ghilardi Group is the name of the parent company, but I talked with the legal department and was like, hey, what is off limits? And they just said anything that involves any spelling of Tastee or Freeze together. Okay. So I could go Tastee Treats, I could go Freezy Treats, but I couldn't do Tastee Freeze. Even if I changed the spelling, they would come after me. So then we kind of went with the fact that we'd always either call it TF like anyway, so we're like, we'll just go with the Freeze. So it kind of like rebrands it, but it's still, what it was.
Right. So it's funny that you say TF, because when you were saying that, I was thinking, I'm like, we called it TF.
Yeah, right? That's what everyone I know does. That doesn't mean, I don't know what the community does, but that's what.
Now you're just the F word, or that's still TF because it's
the Freeze.
So. Right. Well, and I'm sure with picking that name too, like having the Freeze to make sure that people didn't misunderstand and think that like completely new ownership or it's not the same thing as we remember as kids or anything like that.
And so my difficulty that I felt was when we did this, like I needed to make sure. So like I didn't want to just blast out like, hey, we're changing. I just wanted it to be kind of like a rebranding. Like you see bigger corporations do the same thing. They just change their logo, change this, change that.
Right.
And that first year after we changed, I don't know how many times, not a lot, but you'd occasionally have the person who'd come up and they'd be like, so you changed. He's like, the burger tastes different. And I'm like, it's the same meat from the same manufacturer, the same bun that we've used. I'm like, the only reason we changed the name is so that I could do this and not be forced into like other products that would have been what I felt were lower quality.
We're taking a quick break just to say hello because everybody knows Nano, and Nano knows real estate. And actually, I believe that's the name of her Instagram page. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or know somebody in the market for a home, contact Nano from Baird & Warner. She's a Grayslake girl helping out Grayslake people.
So it's just interesting that perception is reality, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why, like, for me, I wanted it to be as little of a perception of change as possible just because, but if anyone ever asked me, I even if they reached out to me on Facebook or wherever, I would have a long conversation with them to attempt to explain because we're not trying to hide. I just felt like it would be the best.
You didn't have to You don't have to wave a big flag and make a big deal about it when really internally nothing big is changing.
Except for literally.
Right. Which is an interesting way to go about it. I think on the show I've probably said in 140 episodes I've probably said 50 times that I refuse to call it the Freeze, like just because it's
and that's fine. You can call it whatever you guys want as long as you come there.
long as we come there. And we're recording this a couple weeks after opening the 2025 season. So,
yeah.
Okay, so how is we're going to go and talk a little more history because I want to know about that. But I'm all over the place. My ADHD kicks in.
No, I have it too, so I'll just follow around after you.
We'll just chase each other around. So how is it running from, like, having, because you guys are, like, balls out, like, crazy busy. Like, everybody rushes to get in when it's freezing cold because you just opened, and then all the way through the end of the season, then people rush in because you got to have it before you close, and then, boom, done.
So it's really interesting is that's one of the toughest things is you go from not being open, no employees, no one's doing anything, to potentially like the craziest day we're going to see for a while, right? And what's interesting, and I mean this is like a little segue, this is my ADHD, but like social media really changed everything. So in the past, I was like, we need to be consistent with our messaging, so it's going to be March 1st through October 31st, and that's just a hard deadline because I don't want to pay for ads that we're going to set up a month in advance and then there'd be a week-long blizzard, right? So I'm like, we got to just be consistent, and that'll be our message. And then we'd always open, and it would be like 2 weeks where people were talking and buzz, and then we get busier and busier, right? But like there was no way to get out to people like there is now. Whereas before, it was like, so if we're going to do a mailer, I mean, the effectiveness of them, plus the timing of them, everything. Plus, if I make that decision when it's going to snow, I make it before I know it's going to snow, then it snows and it was a waste of money. So the advent of social media literally allowed us to flip a switch effectively, push a button, right, and everyone knows, instead of waiting for that 2-week frame. So it has made this problem that you talk about even more difficult, because now we can generate excitement and shorten that window, but means that the training has to be there's this happy medium that we need to figure out, right?
The first thing that came to mind is like, are you training these young men and women inside there in January going, this is how you do this?
And we've done that a couple of times. It all kind of will depend on how many people we have coming back that have prior knowledge. Right. And then, I mean, the biggest thing is honestly, this community is wonderful. So if they come up early year, I think most people understand like that there might be an issue. It might be slower. Our service might not be where it normally would be. But I would hope that our body of work over the last few years states, well, we normally have a really efficient, great time. Hey, this is opening weekend, whatever. And they're very gracious around here as long as the business owners are gracious as well.
Exactly. So that's a shout out to Grayslake, because I know you're all very kind and you're all very patient and you're not being, because I'm sure that especially working back there, can you imagine you get to be in the store all the time, right? You got a big line, you got kids training, they're doing their best, and the line just keeps going bigger and bigger, right? It's hard to do. But you guys pump out a lot of volume very fast on those busy times. It's like feast or famine, right?
Oh, it completely is. I mean, it's crazy. You have a beautiful sunny day, and we'll be as busy as can be. The next day it could be raining, and we're going to be slow. And I mean, my mindset is always like, for the kids, I'm like, look, when we have like this off or slow day, like, do things that are fun, because when it's busy, I'm going to ask you to work a little harder. So now that we have an opportunity, try and, relax. Either, maybe some people go home. If you guys want to stay and, try and do something. Just make sure if there's someone at the window, they get helped.
And because it's such a confined space in there, too, I mean, it's probably a pretty unique place to work, especially for a lot of high school kids. It's like a family. Yeah. You got to get along in there most of the time.
Yeah, you can't hide anywhere to be like, oh, I'm mad, I'm going to go pout some. Everyone can see you. There's nowhere to go.
Before we sat down and before we talked about interviewing, I said, we joke with our friends. I'm like, without the freeze, do you know how many less baseball games my teams would have won? Or like we used to have a thing like, if you got hit by a pitch, we go to Tastee Freeze or the freeze. If we win a game, you hit a home run. Like there's so many things in this town that revolve around your store, which is a really kind of fun. You're a staple of the community.
Because so many teams would come up. So I started doing something where like we didn't like advertise it at all, but like I would always tell coaches who bring the kids up, I'm like, look, if you guys come up as a group and you do it all together and one person pays for everything, we'll give you a discount, so that, it has to be ice cream, not food, because food takes us so much longer to push out. But if it can be
I've been part of that line, yes.
And then in addition to that, it also kind of like over the years, that's why we kind of opened more windows too, because I wanted a place where that big group could be out of the way, not
Right.
where the main line would be.
Right.
So yeah, we've had lots of changes and hopefully good ones over the years.
Yeah, no, and I thought it was genius the first time I walked up and they said, "Okay, baseball team, go over by the food window. Coach, you better have all the things. There's one person paying. We get it." And it was efficient, and it didn't piss off the other people too bad either.
Yeah, that's the goal. So
right. Well, and I'm sure in your business, it's just very easy to keep everybody happy. All of the time.
The famous quote I always go back to whenever someone complains or this or that. I think it was JFK said, "You can make 100% of the people happy some of the time. You can make some of the people happy 100% of the time. You cannot make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time." It doesn't mean you don't try. As a business owner, like you're always going to try, but you do have to realize, like, sometimes this isn't going to be the day I'm going to be able to make. Not in a mean way or rude way, but like. You could have something going on in your life, and no matter what I say to you,
Correct.
It's not going to make you happy. And we're going to try and do our best, and hopefully
it's a good way to look at it, too. It's a good way to look at it, because somebody could be having a really crappy day, and no matter what you serve them.
And vice versa.
Right. Sure.
And I mean, I'll tell you, because I've been doing it since, it will be since June 1st of 98. I mean, I've had times where I've not handled things probably the best, right? I mean, like, I'm human. I make mistakes. If at all I'm able to, I try and apologize, whether it be to the employees, if it were, something that, I got mad or whatever.
Sure.
I'm like, look, this has nothing to do with you. I'm sorry. I apologize. Right. A customer who was complaining about something that I'm like, you want the garbages taken out, but like you can see we have no spare people.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you, but there are two that aren't overflowing that everyone could use.
We could use those,
and
other
you're
than the
mad
most convenient
that
ones.
we don't have this one, and I'm so sorry, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
Right. And I'm sure that you're also in charge of the bee problem when it gets to the fall too.
Literally, if there's anybody out there listening to this podcast who knows what can be done about bees, I have tried everything. Customers, forgive me, but I've tried dryer sheets, I've tried mothballs, I've tried vinegar, I've tried everything. Everything that I've heard of.
Well, I want to see if somebody reaches for it, and maybe somebody has.
Please, if someone has a foolproof answer, I want to know the information.
Oh, that's hilarious. And it's funny because those are the kind of things that people like. It's just business, and it's what you do. Yeah. So it's hard, and things surround that.
Hey, neighbors, this is Bill Mock with the Grayslake Chamber of Commerce. And if you're looking for a network of hard-working, customer-focused, and generally friendly local businesses who are dedicated to helping each other succeed, then I'd like to invite you to check out and consider joining our Grayslake Chamber. We offer our members so many ways to advance their businesses through social networking events, special event sponsorships, informative lunch and learns, and the ever-popular after-hours mixers. Come see why we say we're the new wave of business here in Lake County.
Okay, so now I wanted a bunch of things I want to talk about, and there's no way we can cover everything Freeze in an hour, so we're going to go through.
I'll just have to come back another day.
We'll come back. It'll take me 3 years to get you back here, John. So, so before you buy it, do you have let's just have a history of the Freeze. Tell me what you know. Do you know when it opened? A blend of the history of that.
I don't know the exact year, but I believe in our community it was 50s or 60s for that building. I want to say in the 60s. I think the Historical Society actually knows.
We should have Charlotte on here. Charlotte
they've reached out to me about like getting some things and info for their thing. But and then as far as who owned it,
yes,
I don't know the original owner's name because I think it was someone before the Rothundis, and then the Rothundis owned it for a very long time, and that's who my family approached to purchase it from.
Gotcha. So you're not related to the Rothundis?
I am not.
Okay.
They're all. I used to see them. They'd come up a lot, and I don't know if their daughters. They still have family that's probably in the area.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I used to see them every once in a while. Every time I give them a big hug, they're great people.
Okay, so how purchasing that from that family, and them turning over, that must have been hard for them to get rid of, to get out of the family. That must have been a difficult, or maybe a really happy day.
I think about it as like if I were to sell, right? Like it becomes your identity, and for them, I'm sure it was. So that's another thing that's tough is like when they'd come up and things are changed, you know, I'm almost like, I'm sorry, you know, but
I didn't call
because
you
this
that.
was your baby and now it's different, and I, you know, but like any of the changes we were trying to do were for positive. I
Right.
mean, you know, such as, I mean, one of the bigger ones was you used to. I'm sure you've been going since the time when you used to pull in
Yep.
and drive in right through the tables, and they had the tables on the other side, and there was a driveway in the middle. And there was one day, like, I mean, literally, I'll never forget this day. I was standing there, and this was during the week, during the school year. So there was a family who had their kid out of school for whatever reason, and I would always try and watch the families, right? Because like if I see them drop an ice cream cone and they come up and they want to buy a new one, I'm like, oh no, like you dropped it, we'll put it, it's on us. So I always try and make sure when I was there that everything, I was on top of everything. Well, I saw the little girl walking over. It ended up being for like silverware, probably a fork, I think. But like, and then I saw a car coming from the other side of the building where they wouldn't have seen, and they were coming fast. And my heart, like, I literally, like, I was like, oh no, and the car didn't end up. They ended up stopping, right, and coming in. And it was right after that I heard the village was doing some sort of concrete projects for curbs and stuff. So I reached out and I was like, hey, like, if you guys are doing curbs, can we curb this off and switch it so that no one can pull through? Because I just witnessed, I mean, nothing happened, right? But like, my heart dropped. And I was like, this would be awful. I told the village, I'm like, this would be awful for me, obviously. It would be awful for the family. I said the town as well. We don't want our name in the news for anything related bad.
Right.
So I'm like, can we please do this? And they were I mean, the village is great. They were completely, yeah, as soon as we have the project and it's in your area, we'll do it. And so within that year, they changed it over and redid.
So that's since you've had it. So
yeah.
So then put the it makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
It changed the whole dynamic.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, we could add extra seats, but like that wasn't the main reason. Was the safety factor, and then it was like, oh well, now that we have this lane where a car was driving, now we can put. So we've added more seats, and
Right.
you know, they get all the tables are filled in the summer.
Which is still, it's such a cool thing to drive by, like, and you know, and from being in other towns, and I know I preach this all the time, and people probably think I'm a dork for saying it, but like, your store is one of the coolest things in our town. We have all these things that shape things to make it a town to be proud of, a town to raise your family in, a town to like,
Yeah.
but it is one of the staple things that everybody knows, and it's
and
part
for
of it
me,
goes.
like, the Rothundis were so instrumental in starting and creating that, and I felt like, okay, we're just like taking the torch from the people who did a really great job, and we're going to try and do whatever we can to expound on it, but like, let's stay what we are.
Right. Now, how long have you lived in Grayslake?
So when I was in 6th grade, my dad was teaching at the technology campus, which is like in the same areas where CLC is.
Yep.
And we moved here, I believe, when I was in 6th grade.
Really?
And I've lived here, I mean, when I was a young adult, you know, moved out of my house for a little bit. So I was in Vernon Hills and some other places. But
Right.
as soon as me and my wife were looking for a home, we felt strongly about, I mean, a couple of things. Number one, with the store and how involved I was at that time, I wanted to live close. So if I had any time at all, I could come home and see my wife and children. Right. So ever since then, we've just been in town.
That's awesome. You are a very, very busy man. So what else do you do besides the Tastee Freeze? The freeze.
Yeah.
The freeze. Sorry.
No, you can
The
call it
TF.
Tastee Freeze, dude. I'm never going to be offended.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a full-time fireman, which actually started really because of the freeze, because they would their station is right across the street, Station 1, and they'd always come over, and they'd always be like, oh, you should come work part-time, right? And it started with actually playing in a basketball league with them, and so we were doing like a little park district type league, and then they asked, and I was like, you know, I know nothing about the fire service, but I'm like, I'm an adrenaline junkie. Like, I've been bungee jumping. I've been jumped out of airplanes, skydiving. I'm like, you know, it seems like that might be interesting.
Sure.
So one day I called over and talked with Deputy Chief Formica, and he's now currently the chief in Round Lake, but he's from Grayslake's been here forever. And I asked him, hey, like, what do I got to do to apply? And he's like, oh, yeah, just come over. So I filled out. And then, like, a week later, he called me, and he was like, hey, the academy starts, like, next week. Are you? And I'm thinking, at the time, I was thinking, dude, like, I'm so busy. You got to give me a little bit bigger of a window so I can plan for it. But, I mean, what came to my mouth was, yeah, of course. I'll figure it out. Like, you know, it seems like it would be a great way to give back to the community. That's how I started, because it's, you know, something that we're helping people, and it's the community I live in, the community I own a small business in. Yeah, I'll figure it out. So then that's what started that journey. And then
so what year was that?
So that's funny. I always associate it with my daughter Carly, who's 16. So it would have been just over 16 years ago, because my wife was pregnant, and it was either the first or the second shift I was actually supposed to work at the station. Oh, I'm like, my wife is having a baby. Are you guys okay if, like, I come in late? Or they're like, no, dude, just don't come in. We'll figure it out. You're having a kid. You know, at that time I didn't realize, you hear, you know, fire departments are family related, and, you know, it's a brotherhood and this and that. And I was from the outside, so I didn't really understand that concept. Right. And it became very clear to me, you know, yeah, you're having a kid. We don't want to see you. If we see you, we're going to be mad at you.
Okay. So
just over 16 years ago.
Yeah. Because my daughter's 17. So okay. So during a very short period of time, you're involved with the store, new baby, and become a fireman.
And that was our second. So we already had.
You were a pro by having one, right? So
it's all about having the most amazing wife in the world,
right,
Nicole.
Which the first half hour that we talked about that before we hit record, so, because you really couldn't do all these things without having such a supportive wife.
100%.
Because it's. And I want to shout out to her, too, because I know she pushed you to come in, too. So
she definitely was like, John, you have to do this. I'm going to be. But then she's also like, oh, if it goes bad, then I'm going to be so embarrassed. I was like, well, you're going to have to live with whatever happens.
Dave knows how to edit. That's fine. And fun fact, too, people listening, that I had the honor to actually DJ your guys' wedding.
Yeah.
And that was,
a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time. More than 16 years. More than, it was probably 20. Do you know how long you've been married? Are we going to get in trouble? How many years?
Yeah, you're going to get me in trouble. That's fine.
Either way, 20-something.
Yeah.
20-some years. And I'll always remember your wedding, because you know what happened at the end of your wedding?
I got to be honest with you, I don't remember.
Come on. Okay, no, because you're one of the somebody wanted to fight me at the end of your wedding.
Oh, yes. So, now I very clearly, because you wouldn't play a song that they wanted.
Yeah, it was like a Metallica song, at the end of the night. And that was the only time anybody ever tried to fight me. Just
I'm glad
it's like it was weekly for me. Somebody always wanted to kick my ass, just because I was trying to do the best for people.
It's about customer service. For the people who paid you, right?
Yes.
Like, understood. Yeah.
Yes, but people are assholes in general. I'm sorry.
I haven't met any of them.
No, I know. Well, you give yourself enough time being a business owner and a fireman, and things will come. And a parent of teenagers, you'll find a couple along the way.
Yep.
But it's cool to see how things work, especially like we live in a really cool town where, you know, when people say, oh, you know, yeah, I'm like, well, I know who owns that. Like, what? I got the honor to do their wedding. It was years ago. But also now in your, I want to go back to being fireman. So you started in Grayslake. So,
yes.
So when you started in Grayslake, just so I understand, I know that a long time ago there was volunteer firemen, then you're on. So to explain how that works and like how your career led in fire.
Yeah. So at Grayslake they have a part-time program or a paid on premise, some places call it. And, you know, you either pick up shifts. So like either the day or the night, you know, there it was 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. till 7 a.m. Okay. So those were like on a daily basis. They had probably 3, I could be wrong, but 3 spots available for you to sign up for. So that's how I started. And then you either love it or hate it. And I loved it. Yeah. So then I had to tell myself, okay, well, what do I want to do this full time or just stay part time? And in Illinois, the pension rules are such that you have to get hired by 35. And at that time I was like 32, 33. So I was like, all right, well, I have to make a decision. Like, do I want to do this full time? If I do, I have to make this happen in the next couple of years, or just be happy with being part-time and giving back to the community and loving it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply places, but I was also in a position where I was like, I only really want to apply at departments that I had heard like really good things about. You know, like I knew someone that worked there. Yeah, we love our job. Everyone here is happy. You know, I say that knowing that over the course of time things can change, but I'm like, I don't want to go into a situation where I'm like, well, I'm just trying to get any job possible and be unhappy. So I actually worked with two different individuals who worked there at Grayslake with me part-time, and they worked at Deerfield Bannockburn, and they were like, yeah, you'd love it here, come. So I applied there and ended up getting a job there. I also worked in between there somewhere. I worked at Lake Villa for a little bit. Absolutely loved it up there. But as soon as I got the full-time job, having 3 children, a small business, I'm like, it's tough because you leave all this group of people that becomes like your family. When I was working there part-time and then at Lake Villa part-time, but I'm like, I have a real family, and I've seen the number of people that get divorced, their rates are bad, and I'm like, I'm already busy as it is. The last thing I'm going to do is sacrifice, you know, my relationship with my wife or kids just so I can continue to hang out with a whole bunch of fun people and do good for the community. Like I have to worry about my family first. So then at that point I had to just not work part-time anywhere else and focus on my family.
Right. No, and that's crazy because that is a big dedication, and it's hard to, especially when you're good at a lot of things or you have a lot of loves like that you want to do, that you have to draw a line and be priority-wise. So wow. So now where are you working now? So
I'm at Deerfield Bannockburn.
So you're still there?
Yeah, full-time there for, this is now my 12th, I think I'm in my 12th year there. So.
And that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
You got a couple different families.
It's a great department.
That's awesome. So those really long hours?
So that schedule is 1 day on, so 24 hours. So we go in at 7 o'clock till 7 o'clock the next morning, and then you have 2 days off, and then that's just on repeat forever.
Wow. Okay.
So, and then, I mean, there's always the opportunity, you know, you might get held back for overtime. You might be stuck on a call and not be able to leave. I mean, emergencies aren't planned ever, so you never know what's going to happen.
But you do have a somewhat of a good schedule that you know, and you can divide your time. So I'm sure that that helps out a lot. Okay, so right now we're going to pause right here towards about halfway through. And if you've listened, you've listened to a couple podcasts, okay, and you still agreed to come on, which is kind of fun. Okay, so what we do is we have our hot seat questions, and this segment is brought to us by JPV Financial. Joe Velez, great dude. Hey Dave, put an ad here for Joe.
The Grayslake Hot Seat is brought to you by Joe Velez at JPV Financial. It's often said that those who fail to plan are planning to fail. Joe Velez and his team at JPV Financial create unique financial plans that address some of the most difficult challenges that people might face as they get older. No matter what stage of life you're in, having a proactive financial plan can help navigate some of the difficult decisions you'll face, helping you live your life by design, not default. Securities and investment advisory service offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Now for the Grayslake Hot Seat. Hey, thanks, Joe.
All right, so just a couple rapid or fire questions. Probably maybe a little bit different than what you've listened to, unless you've listened to really recent ones. But a couple of these are kind of fun. So when you meet somebody, what impresses you the most about when you meet somebody? What impresses you about a person?
Their personality. If you're happy, you're mad, you're angry. Are you smiling or are you not? That's, you know.
And I'm sure you get a lot of first impressions.
Do they love life or they look miserable?
Right. Do I want to hang out with this person? Or are they completely well, and I'm sure that comes from being on fire and being a boss. And having employees and working with the public too. It's kind of fun. All right, this one, your first car you ever had?
Was I don't know the year, but this is actually a funny story. It was a Dodge Shadow that I bought, and I ended up selling it to my wife for like $1. At the time we were just dating, but I took it out for a drive, me and her did, Oh, she's going to kill me. We went out for a drive, and there was this one area where there was like a little bit of a jump, and I was younger and dumb. And so we were like speeding, and we bottomed out the car, right? And then we went, she's going to kill me. And then we went to a parking lot and parked, and we were just sitting there talking, being honest for everyone out there. And all of a sudden, this cop comes up to us. It's at night, with a flashlight. And he's like, hey. And so I roll down the window. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, just to let you know, there's like a huge puddle of like liquids under your car. And I'm like, really? So I cracked the oil pan. All the oil was out of it.
My God.
So then I ended up having to get a different car and then got that one fixed. And she ended up driving it for a little bit. But that was my first car.
But you did that after you sold it to her for $1.
Or
the transaction was happening.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a new car, and then I think I got it fixed, and we were like, well, what are we going to do with it? And she was at the spot where it would have worked out for her to get it. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's funny. How about a first concert for you?
Oh my goodness, it's so funny. We've been to quite a few the last year here. I don't know my first concert, but I will say that my most favorite one was I took my daughter Carly to go see Morgan Wallen at Wrigley, and I think he had been off. I think his voice had issues, and he had been off for a while, so it was like his first concert back. So he was so excited to be up. I mean, musicians always are, but like he was so excited to be up there, and the show was just amazing, and it was fun for me because I got to have like a special experience with my daughter. It was just me and her that went, and it was a blast.
That's
but
awesome.
First one I do not know. I'm so
really?
Sorry.
Okay, so now I was just thinking back about you talking about like cars, first cars. How long have you been dating your wife?
A long time.
Yeah, so you guys were young when you met then.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we met.
High school?
No, we met at the store.
No way.
Yeah, so I was young.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put dates on things.
No. I was 19 when we bought the store.
Okay.
So I had talked family into it, right? And we bought it, and I was working there a little bit. Like, I don't know how to explain the situation, but like we had a main guy who would run it, and then the rest of us would kind of like go in one night a week and on a rotating schedule. And she was working there, and she had the personality that we say is that I just said I'm attracted to, right? Like, right. I mean, awesome person, smiling all the time, great person. And so then I ended up at a certain point asking her, out on a date. And then once we started dating, I said, this is really uncomfortable, but you can't come back next season because it's like a conflict of interest. And she was like, okay, I get it. I understand. But so then she lost her job.
Right. Well, I'm really glad that you got rid of her because now you still have her forever. This is great. But that's great. So this, once again, like I love stories like that and show like how much the store actually means to you. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's a huge part of your life.
And then as soon as we got to the point where we know we're getting married, then we were there all the time together.
Right. Then she submitted
the fact
her
that we're still
application.
married after those years is literally amazing because it's so much stress and so much time together. And
that's great though. Okay, so what high school did you go to then?
So I went to a private school in Lake Villa. It was at the time it was called Calvary Christian High School. Okay. And I actually tried to talk my parents into letting me go to Grayslake because I loved playing basketball, like loved it.
Really?
And and this is my opinion. My dad wanted me. I was a blessing baby.
Okay.
So they were older. My dad wanted to retire, and like his timeline for retirement was kind of tied to like when I'm going to be out of the house and he's done with me.
Right.
So they actually pushed me, and I was not against it, but they encouraged me, pushed me to graduate in 3 years. So I graduated in 3 years and was on track, to then be out of the house sooner for him. And I don't know if, that's my opinion on it, right? I'm not here to is neither good nor bad, whatever. That's just what it was.
Right.
So
yeah, because funny, because my question was, what did you play a sport in high school?
I played a lot of basketball.
Yeah, so it sounds like you like basketball. That's how you got to meet your fire friends.
That's what started with the fire department, and then I love it.
That's cool. So if you guys had to have a theme party at your house, what kind of party would you have?
Ice cream related, maybe.
Right.
No, I don't know.
And on your free time, anyway. Okay, how about this? What do you wish that you'd learned sooner in life?
I mean, like in business, I spent a lot of years making some mistakes. Not like big mistakes, but like focusing on the wrong things. And as soon as I changed my mindset and switched over to different things, we became more profitable, more efficient, more this, more that. And I just think, like we stated earlier, like you're not going to make everyone happy all the time.
Right.
So as long as your mindset going is I'm trying to do the best for as many people as possible. We want to have the best possible products at the best possible price. And we're doing our best instead of focusing on like what could be, what can't be.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. And then there's always that saying of like, don't let perfect get in the way of good, right? And like a lot of us, people who are drawn to be their own business owner,
sure,
you want everything perfect, right? Like you're type A or you're whatever, you like, I want it to be perfect. And if it gets in the way of actually getting something accomplished, then that's a negative. So I would say somewhere in that of, making that learning curve shorter would have been great.
Yeah, and it is. And, you look at other companies, you see people doing really well, and you see all these things, like everything must be good. And I always say, like, comparison is the thief of joy, too, right? So to be happy that sometimes good is great, right?
Yeah.
And we make the best of every situation that we possibly can. Have you ever had a roller dog from a gas station?
I have not. I've seen some really bad looking ones.
Do you ever? Since I've asked that question on here, I get text weekly from like random
pictures
people.
of like green ones.
Yes. And then on TikTok, of course, I just watched something on how to clean a roller dog machine. I'm saying I have eaten them. I think I will continue, but it's a whole different thing.
It all depends. If you go there at like a mealtime or if you go there at 3 a.m. where it's been there since lunch and you're like, whoa, that thing might crawl off that on its own. I'm out.
That's hilarious. That's very true. Do you have a go-to karaoke song?
No, I can't sing. My wife will let you know that I can't sing.
Right. I don't try. You didn't strike me as a karaoke guy, but you never know.
Looking for a place where there's always something happening? Welcome to the Grayslake Village Center. Whether you're planning a family outing, a date night, or a fun night out with friends, the Village Center has something for everyone, year-round. Enjoy a fantastic mix of restaurants, unique retail shops, and exciting events that bring the community together. And just steps away, you'll find Central and Gelatin Parks, home of the library, aquatic center, skate park, senior center, and numerous recreational opportunities. Whew, that's a mouthful. So if you're looking for something to do, come explore, dine, shop, and play right here in the heart of Grayslake. Find out more at grayslakevillageCenter.com. And go check them out on social media and give them a like, give them a follow.
Have you ever met a celebrity?
Have I ever met a celebrity?
Yeah.
No, not really.
No.
Well, you know what? Okay, the closest thing would be there's this excellent, when we talk about concerts, there's this excellent concert that used to take place at Potawatomi Bingo, and it was called the Rookie Class of, and it was like country artists who are in their first year, right? So like it was literally my favorite concert of the year that we would go to. We went every year for quite a few years because you'd see them before they were big. And what would happen, this was the format. So it was in the Northern Lights Theater, which has a bunch of seats, and then they also had like a little front row right on the stage. So what they do is 95 or whatever the station is that's up in Milwaukee, that's the country station, they would have the two people be hosts, and then they would bring an artist out, and they'd usually have like 4 or 5 artists. So they'd bring one out, and then they would sing a song, typically like the one that their one hit wonder, if you will, so to speak, that got them to where they are and why they're famous now. So then there'd be like 4 or 5 people up there, but like watching the artists after they were all up there, and they'd still go around like 4 or 5 times maybe, right?
Yeah.
So like watching the other artists sometimes even play with them for their famous song and sing with it and see that excitement, plus get to see them before they're famous. Like these people are still in the beginning stage of their career. Some of them, it's clear they're going to be famous,
right.
But seeing them still in that mode, you know, we got to like actually Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, and Sam Hunt. They weren't all 3 at the same one, but
you saw those
2 of
guys
them.
there.
I think it was Sam Hunt was the same one as Morgan Wallen, maybe not. But you know, we did like do the meet and greet, so we at least got to like talk to him for like a second. But that's cool, not like meeting them and sitting down and talking. But it was just interesting to see them before they got so famous that like you can't even talk to them.
What a cool experience, especially because obviously you like country music.
I grew up not liking country music.
I know.
And then somewhere along the line in the last like 10 years, between maybe my wife's influence or whatever,
Right.
Plus the type, it's almost changed to like popular music now.
Yes.
Essentially. And
It's
I'm,
changed.
you know, I'm not saying good or bad, but like I enjoy the newer stuff.
Gotcha. I totally understand, but it's really cool that you got to see those guys there.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank. So, bartender, can I have a
Old fashioned.
old fashioned?
Yeah.
Good.
I have a shirt that says I'm old fashioned with a picture of an old fashioned on it that my wife or kids bought for me.
Right. It's like, and they're very popular these days again too. Have you ever won an award?
I'm sure I've won something, but I don't know. I try not to think about those things.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Your favorite Grayslake event to attend, if you get to attend.
So when we do the fireworks,
Yep.
so the Tastee Grayslake, but I'm usually at the store, but you can see the fireworks from our picnic table area. Like they're literally from our store, they're right towards where the water tower is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always fun because we'll be busy the whole time, but then as soon as the fireworks start, some people will still be in line, but they'll be watching, and we get to go out and watch, and I, you know, have the employees like take some pictures and stuff. But
Yeah.
I would say that 4th of July festival, and then, you know, the last couple of years I've been able to go down there with my family, because my wife would always go down with the kids, you know,
Right.
down to the park. But that's always a fun one.
It's cool to get out and enjoy that too.
And it's nicer weather, you know, like, I mean, there's stuff over the winter, but it's always cold and wet and nasty.
Yes. No, and you know what? Yeah, when we get the nice weather, it is good to be
Memorial
out there.
Day Parade is a great one too.
Yeah.
Like we're usually crazy busy, so I'm once again sometimes there. Sometimes I'll go watch with the kids and my wife, and then, you know, rush back to the store to be ready for if we get people. But
It's an interesting way to live life, right? Because especially on like I did for so long, like every holiday is a big day for business, right? So we got to miss out on a lot of things. You have a lot of responsibility. You have to be there
I've
all
missed
the time.
a lot of things in my life.
Right.
But back to the Memorial Day Parade.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to do.
Uh-oh.
This is the idea that this last year I'm like, we have to do this. So I want to get like a dunk tank on a trailer and pull it through, but have it all set up to be like a root beer float. So it's like a float. And then I was thinking, what if I'm in the dunk tank and people could somehow dunk me?
Right.
So I was thinking what we would do
I'm ready
is
to work
come
this
up
out
with
with you.
almost like a way for people to donate money, and then we pick a good cause, whatever the cause would be.
Right.
And then like once we hit a dollar amount, it dunks me, right?
Love it.
And then it builds up, and once it hits a dollar amount, it dunks me. And I literally was like, we have to do this. So I was looking for dunk tanks, like used ones around, because I was
Yeah.
like, I really want
You
to
know,
set
you paint
this
it
up
like
for
a-
the
paint it
future,
like a
and then
float.
come up with like whatever it is going to be that we're going to donate money to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like roll through if we could figure that out, because I think people trying to throw something at the thing would just be that would be too much to.
Yeah,
I mean,
well-
it might be, but I think it would be better if we could figure out a way that people could like Venmo or something,
Right.
where it hits.
I
There's
think-
got to be something out there.
I think I need to be on the float with announcing what we need to do, and we
Yes.
need to have it, and we can watch this
All
come
right.
in, and every $100 we get to, or every $50 we get to,
Whatever
or
it is,
whatever
I don't
and then
really
we
care.
dunk
It's
you.
just about raising money for a good cause, and then hopefully
Right.
everyone has fun
I love it.
dunking me in root beer.
I love it. And yes, and if the weather's really crappy, we'll do every $10 you get dunked. But that could be really fun. If we could figure out how to make it work. All right.
Yeah.
So everybody
Let's get on this.
get your money ready. So we're gonna dunk. But how hard is it to find a used dunk tank?
I don't know. I did attempt, and I had one lined up in the city, but then like I kept reaching out to the guy, and it was like, oh, I'm busy. I'm like, okay, if you don't want to sell it, like I don't, whatever.
Right.
I'll just.
I'll get
so
out
then
with my day.
that was last summer, right when I had the idea, and then I've been so busy this winter that I haven't continued to look, but
right. See,
now that it's out there in the universe, I have to do it.
Right.
So
and now we have another community project for everybody to work on: find a used dunk tank. And one other reason that I love doing this podcast is because somebody will say, "Hey, what did you talk about today?" I'm like, oh, "I talked to a guy about buying a used dunk tank." Like, just the conversation.
Well, somebody might know. Someone who's listening might know. Forward me the info so I can make this a reality.
Right. Power of the community. We'll see how well they can get that done. Okay, so being a member of this community, and I love to hear you talk about like when you're going out there that you really have worked with people, and what's your longest employee that you've had there? Do you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know for sure. So Trey was a friend of mine from high school, and he has worked with me basically since day one. He did leave for like a year or two, but came back. But he's definitely the longest term employee that I have. And then after that, it would be Allison. She's been there forever, and this goes without saying, and it should have been brought up way sooner in this podcast. But like, without good employees, like nothing is possible. So if you don't have good people, and luckily I've found some great people, like the three main people are Trey, Allison, and Shelby, and they do a phenomenal job every day. And without them, I wouldn't be here.
Right. It's fun because, we've talked to a lot of other different business people in town where you get to watch people grow up with you and see how their lives change and like things like that. And, like you've seen people from being a single, probably young person that having a family
up with
now.
Their kids. I mean, the number of times that an employee who used to work for me comes up with their kids, you're like, man, I'm really old.
Okay, you know what? You want to feel really old. So now that I've DJ'd for so long, the only weddings that I'm doing this year are children of people that I've done weddings for. It is really, really strange.
You weren't even alive at the first wedding I did, right?
I did your parents' wedding. Yeah, they're not stepchildren. They're like, and it's really, and also I look at them and go, you do know how old I am, right? So this is probably like, even though your parents might have thought I was cool, we'll have to let you guys should come and really meet me just to make sure that everything is good. But Jen, I guess the point is like, it's fun to watch such a community, and obviously I take a lot of pride in Grayslake. But to watch things go, like, you really have firsthand in touching people's lives in this town. Like,
most people have no idea what to do with their aging loved one who needs help. Well, there is a solution. A company that provides care and assistance to make your loved one feel right at home. At Right at Home, their mission statement is to improve the quality of life for those they serve. They offer extensive services: personal and companion care, safety supervision and transportation, fall prevention, dressing and bathing assistance, medical reminders, meal prep, hospice support, ambulation support, stroke recovery, Parkinson's support. The list goes on and on and on. If you have an aging loved one that needs help, call Right at Home. Most people prefer to age in their home rather than moving to an assisted living or nursing home. Right at Home can make this happen. Contact Right at Home at rightathomenlc.com or give them a call, 847-984-0103. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, we create a lot of first job opportunities for a lot of kids. And I hope most of them had a great experience, learned valuable lessons that will carry on in their life. It's always fun to see like the kids who worked for me. Clearly at that time they were living in their parents' house, and now they own a house in the same community and are part of the community and bringing their kids up. And it's just a lot of years and a lot of ice cream cones.
Yeah. Okay. Just for fun, any idea on how many, like, let's just soft serve ice cream cones in a year?
Oh my God. I would have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, I could go and look at our data for how many cones I bought, but I have no idea.
Right.
It's a lot.
and I think it's funny. I always say, like, successful businesses.
I'll be prepared for the next.
Okay,
the next one. I'll be like, okay, last year we sold approximately this many cones. If we multiply that by,
I wonder how many. It's
27 years, then it would be
how many. But I would say successful business is a place that you can go and you don't have to look at the menu, right? So that's a cool thing.
True.
Like, my 8-year-old hasn't looked at your menu in 3 years because it's a medium half and half, or as he gets to be a bigger boy, he thinks he can, do the large half and half, whatever.
You get to finish it then, though.
Right, exactly. Always. But now he wants me to eat the middle part of the ice cream so he can have the end of the cone.
That's the best. I mean, little treat.
it is the truth. So, what is your favorite? What do you order? Do you have a favorite thing?
I love caramel, so like Snickers sundae, anything with caramel, I'm all about. Our churro freezy, which we typically do in May, has caramel as well as, like little churro-y type bites in them. That one's delicious. I love that one. And then, there's just a couple items, like our puppy chow is kind of, I don't want to say famous, but like, it was the first time I had ever seen it, and anywhere, and now I've actually seen like hard pack places that have versions of it, and but like when we did it, I had never seen it anywhere. I think we were actually in the Dells before the store opened, and we met like my wife's sister up in the Dells for like a fun little like last hurrah before Dad disappears for 8 months, and she had made I think her sister had made puppy chow and bring it with, and it's in my wife's family, it's a common treat at parties, whatever.
Right.
And we were eating it, and so then my mind was like, well, we're opening in a week, I got to start thinking. And I was like, we should try something. So then I tried a bunch of recipes, and I was like, dude, this thing's amazing. Like so we did it. We started. We're just gonna do it as like a monthly one, like a freeze of the month.
Right.
It sold so much. I was like, we home make it every morning. We make the stuff every morning. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a pain. We're gonna have to make this every morning forever. And it's sold so well. We literally can't take it off the menu. Right. We'll get run over by customers.
See, but isn't that fun though? Like, and how stuff like that works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we were talking about like the freeze of the month. So is that something you've always done? Like you have a special freeze every month?
I don't know when we started that, but quite some years ago. And now we've made it more in the last like 2 or 3 years, like more of a priority to make sure that we're doing something. Because like with social media, you need to put out stuff that's going to catch eyes, right? So like we've even done ones that, we did one with bacon because I was like, look, I don't know how much this will sell, but the impact of like people seeing it and their eyeballs on it will bring them talking about it, and that's valuable. Now, I would never put anything on the menu that isn't good because that's just not my style. Right. So we worked on a recipe for a long time before I was like, all right, this is what we're doing. And
how'd the bacon one sell?
It didn't sell that great, but it tasted amazing.
Right, but I'm sure people talked about it.
Yeah.
And as they made their way there, it gives them
to order their Oreo freezy. But whatever,
exactly.
This is all good.
And I think like to start this year is like two Girl Scout cookie flavors, right? And then one of a
so it started with the Thin Mint, and we actually make them. We make the cookie ourselves. We take like a chocolate wafer and we dip them, and then we add mint flavoring and everything. But and Samoa is another popular one.
Oh, yes.
And then we also do a tag along. So we have 3 Girl Scout cookie themed ones.
Gotcha.
Right now.
Okay, and I want to. So the last 2 times I've taken somebody semi-new, or what I call new, because I've been here for 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Over 50 years. It's fun to be like, I remember riding my bike up, and we would get a Tastee Burger special, like that was a big deal to have lunch at Tastee Freeze, right?
Some people don't even know we have food.
That's what I'm saying right now. It's like I brought people, they're like, what do you mean they have hamburgers? So like, let's talk a little bit about food anyway.
And that was also what spurred kind of opening more windows, because when I first bought the store, it was just one order, one pickup, right? So then we'd see this, people would order food, and food takes a lot longer to take the order because we're asking you, like, what do you want on it? Whereas, like, your ice cream, it's like, I want this, and unless you're going to specialize it, like, you know what you're getting.
Right.
So with food, we ask what they want on it, sides. And so I would see us at nighttime when it's the busiest of our day. I'd see the line growing because we're taking a food order, and I'm like, all right, we got to figure this out. So then at one point I was like, all right, we're not selling food after like 7 or 6 depending, and then it got to the point where it was like, we have to sell food because everyone likes our food. I like it. I don't know. I think we do a good job, but I hate to speak highly of your own stuff. So I would say,
you take pride
ask
in
people who've tried it,
right.
and if they like. But so then I was like, all right, we have to open another window so that we can have people over there. And then I would say recently, I think Allison's idea was to give people, because we still would call it out on the other side of the building. And I'm like,
you can't be sitting by the picnic tables and hear it on the other side, right?
I get, like, you have to understand from our standpoint, like, we couldn't make it work another way. So that's how we did it at the time. But I'm like, I know this is horrible. Like, this, we're yelling. I'm like, this is stupid. We need to figure this out. So finally, Allison came up with the idea of giving people, like, the pagers. I was going to either do, like, a system with your phone where you'd get a text, because that's common at restaurants if you're waiting for your seat. And she's like, oh, why don't we try these pagers? So we try the pagers, and it's, like, the greatest thing ever, because we're not in a situation where we're, like, frustratedly yelling from around the corner out the building, and I feel it's made everything a lot smoother and helped out. But our food has, because then we made a focus on a new window. I mean, if you saw the space that we cook in, you'd be like, wow, how do you do that? But
right.
I mean, we make the best of the situation we have, and definitely sell a lot more food than we used to.
Wow. So when you approach the freeze, everybody, the food windows are on the right.
Yes.
So don't wait in the other line the whole time. Then you go around the corner, and that's where you order your food.
And if you order food, you can get your ice cream with it there, which is kind of like a little cheat code, because I've seen numerous times people go to the one window, order their food, and then they go to the other window, and I'm like, look, just so you know, like, you can order your ice cream with it, and we won't make it until the food's ready, and then we'll hand it all out together.
Right.
And then that leads to, like, some people ordering, like, a small fry just so they can get out of the line that's literally down the street.
Yes.
But, I mean, whatever.
And I have a TikTok channel that's called Don't Be an A-hole. So don't do that. Be nice, be kind to everybody else waiting in line, and be patient with all these people.
Unless you really want fries, then order your fries.
Yeah, then
get your ice cream with it. It's a little shortcut
to get all of them like that. But it is fun, because when people say so, I would recommend that everybody put the freeze on their lunch rotation, because we always try to eat local and make sure that we visit all the restaurants and put that one on there. And if you haven't tried it, make sure to go. What's the most popular food item?
Like our country, our quarter pound size burger is probably the most common. And we sell a lot of bacon. So like a bacon, a quarter pound bacon burger would probably be the number one item. But like the number one food item is definitely our fries. Like
really?
we used to our little walk-in is our little walk-in, and like it used to hold. We'd be like, oh, we got to make sure we have like 3 or 4 cases of fries. Now during the summer, we have to make sure we have like 10 cases of fries ready to go at all times. I don't even know how our employees fit everything in there, but it's like packed all in, and we make it work.
That's crazy. See, I wouldn't even think of that. Wow.
Yeah, people love it. And I personally think the reason why they're such a hit is because we don't make the food until you order it. So like sometimes if you go to a place, they're pulling them out of a tray, right? And they could have the opportunity to be nowhere near fresh. But you should be getting fresh fries every single time you come to our place.
Awesome.
And then like if there's leftovers, we toss them. Like you know what I mean? I'm like, try and portion appropriately, because I don't want them to sit in there for the next person. They're going in the garbage, and we're starting fresh for everyone.
Wow,
so.
Great. So now you're just going to sell more fries after saying that.
Oh, no.
You're going to need more space for that. Okay, so I always like to take opportunity, especially with business owners, to say, what are some of the most like common questions that you get that we can answer? And if you had to answer 2 questions just once for everybody, is there something that we're missing that we need to talk about to say this is the answer?
I can't think. I mean, most people are definitely surprised by they come like I try and the last few years I've tried to incorporate for like raffle prizes so people could have an event to like be able to come in, let their kids make ice cream and so that.
Right.
And always when they come in, they're like, oh, it's so much bigger than I would think from being outside. It is very small though. Let's be very clear here. Like we're constantly running into each other when working. But I guess that question is asked a lot, is like, oh, how small is it? Do you the sizing, they're surprised by the space on the inside, I guess.
Because how many people are in there at once working? Like on a busy night, how many people you got in there?
I mean, it used to be 4 or 5, and we're at like 9 employees at night.
Right. You have to hire very small people just so you go out that they can move around very easily.
Definitely, you're running into everyone you work with.
I bet. That's cool. And I know that you've done one other thing I like to highlight too is that there's so many different events I go, whether it's a baseball team, whether it's a raffle prize thing, so never. And I don't want to encourage people because as business owners we do as much as we can to help out. But you are definitely a part of the community. You give back, and I notice it around, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say. So that's another thing. Like when you're first starting up, you don't really know what to do. You're like,
it's hard, right?
So everyone asks, and now I get to the point where it's like, if it's local and it's in the community, I am trying my absolute hardest to be a part of it. Like, it's not yes or no. It's yes, but this is what we can do, right? And
Correct.
It might not be what you may have asked for more than I can provide, but I'll do something. Let's figure it out,
yes.
right? If it's local, I'm all about it.
And that's the other thing that I saw that I think I was over at the Vine for something, and you had a really cool thing. It was like a ice cream making, or what was that? It was very clever.
Well, the Vine does like the sponsored drinks, but that's not what you're talking about.
No, I was at a raffle for I believe it was Grayslake Knights band thing.
Yeah.
So they had like a raffle tickets you put in.
So I started I'm like, well, what are people? Because like we can give away ice cream, right? We can give away T-shirts and hats. Actually, I brought you a hat today. You can choose whichever one you want.
Thank you.
But I was like, what would be a really interesting thing that people can do that like not everyone gets to, right? Because then you're like, well, maybe I do want to actually put in for it. So
an experience.
I was like, look, let's do something where the kids can come inside and make their own stuff, and then I'll answer whatever questions you guys got. Like I got time, right? We'll figure it out.
That's so.
Cool. I would usually let them come in, make whatever they want, and like if I'm the one doing it, I'm like, they'll try and be like all polite, like, oh, let's make it small, and I'm like, no, you're going as big as you can. If you don't finish it, no big deal, just toss it. But like, I want it to be a memorable event for people.
Right.
So and then also like invite friends. So if like a family wins it and they have 2 kids, I'm always like, well, at least try and get like a friend of each, at least like 4 people,
right.
So we can come in. We can't get all 4 people up front at a time, but one at a time I'll bring them up there. We'll make it fun, and then if anyone has questions, usually they don't have too many questions. Usually the parents will have a couple of questions, and the kids are just happy to be eating ice cream.
And they're going to tell other friends how cool it was to be like.
And then we give them like a T-shirt,
nice.
for all the people that came, and I try and make it fun.
That's awesome. No, and I love that. And one thing, like memories of like being there and people, the experience that you guys create from ordering their ice cream and the kids jumping on the little thing that you built on the side so they can look down in there.
That was another thing. So like how that was born was there was this family in town and their son. So it used to just be a bench that was there. Actually 2 benches, one on one side and then one on the guardrail. There's not even a guardrail anymore because they just redid. But there used to be 2 benches, and their young kid was jumping from one to the other, which we don't encourage that.
No.
And he fell and he sliced right above his eye, and I was like, oh my gosh. So that was one of those things that happened, and I immediately was like, all right, we got to figure this out. Like, kids are going to jump. I would prefer people not horse around, but that's what makes things fun. So now let's make it safe. So actually a buddy of mine, his dad was really good with woodworking, and I was like, hey, like, can you come? He's like, oh, I got an idea. So he made the platform with a bench on the backside, but the platform has like a railing too. And so kids can go up there and watch. And I was like, this is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you so much. And now that's there, and I'm hoping to kind of like redo that area a little bit. I want to make it fun over there.
Yeah.
So if I actually have time this year, that might happen.
Awesome.
Now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to have to.
Right, now you have to. Right. It's funny because my little guy orders and he runs right over there in front of everybody to go sit there.
Yeah.
And that's his thing. Is that one mine?
Oh, I always try and like, if I'm in there, I always try and interact with them. Like, fist bumps on the window.
Right.
Roll my eyes, stick my tongue out, whatever to make it fun. I mean, it's food, but most people, I feel, are coming for more of the experience and the fun.
Yes.
And we just have to make sure our food's good so that they're not like, oh, well, I have to suffer through this
Right.
in order to go out with my family.
And even though it's so easy and it's just ice cream, right? But it is an experience. It's a family thing. Like for a family to get together and go, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go to the Freeze tonight.
Yeah.
If everybody's good.
And then I
But it's
see
great.
like all the family, like they come up, right, and everyone sees their community members. They see them and
Yes.
talking, and like that's to me what a community is.
Gathering, right?
So
No. And the other thing I remember about your place, regardless, is that you're always nice enough. There's how many flyers do you have on your window of local events going on?
yeah,
All
I
these things
say as long as it doesn't have anything inappropriate on it,
Yeah.
put it up.
and not block the kids
And every
from
once in a
watching
while,
the
I'll
ice
be
cream.
like, dude, you guys allowed this up here. What are you doing?
That's awesome. Okay. Oh, and the other thing I did want to cover too is just really quick that I love that we have the pup cups. That's one thing. Like it's fun to see community, and especially these days. Everybody brings their dogs everywhere.
Yeah.
But the pup cup's a big thing too.
Yeah, and that, I got to be honest with you, I don't remember if the Rothundis did that before us or not. I don't know, and so I'm not trying to like, oh, it was our idea. Great, it may have been theirs, but we definitely were like added a dog treat to it to make it a little more individual, and then
Is it a different kind of ice cream for the dog?
And then, so it didn't used to be. So
Okay.
it used to be our normal ice cream, and there was this one Thanksgiving. No, it wouldn't have been Thanksgiving. I think it was Easter. That this one guy in town, he has this like massive. I mean, he doesn't live in town anymore, but he has this massive dog, and his dog ate the pup cup, and then clearly ate a whole bunch of food at Easter like lunch, and it was everywhere, and I was like, oh my goodness. So then, as soon as we added our lactose-free mix into like having it, I was like, I was looking up, and some dogs are lactose intolerant and this and that. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll use this mix. It's a lactose-free mix for the dogs, so it's a little bit easier on their stomachs if they happen to.
Right.
And we've definitely seen less dogs yakking up pup cups.
Well, and speaking of that, so is there any other things that you've had to adapt as like dietary restrictions get bigger and more? Is there things that you had to offer that were special? Or is it just like, because I don't have any of those, so I don't.
No, I mean, obviously, like when I first started, nuts, like peanut allergies weren't as big of a deal. Now they are, and so we ask people to let us know. But like if it's a severe enough allergy, like they're in the store, so. But like we'll always have the employees making it go wash their hands or something to make sure there's no potential for cross contamination.
Right.
And then like gluten allergies, we've thought about bringing on like a bun, but I just don't. I haven't yet.
It's hard to do.
So,
right.
but if people were to like I shouldn't say this here, but like if people were to bring it up, I'd be like, oh yeah, we'll use it,
Try to find a
or
way
we'll
to-
give you the patty without a bun. I've seen people do that, and then they bring their own bun.
Right.
But that would be an opportunity for us to look into.
Yeah. Well, there's only so much you can do, and you only have so
Yeah.
much room and so many things to cover. Well, I love what you're doing. I think, as we've talked about many times, you're a huge part of the community, and I know that I love to see that the pride you take in your employees, not your employees, the people that you work with, and that you guys get to do this every day. And
I'm their employee.
Right. Well,
They're the ones that do all the work. I just try to make sure that they have the ability and the resources and whatever it is
Right.
at this point.
And it's awesome. And it is community. And all the people that you've seen there, you can see the people that take pride to work there and the families that go and gather. So
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything. And I appreciate you coming in after my 2-year invitation. It was about to expire next month, I think, also.
Well, thank you for being patient with me.
Yes. Anything else we need to mention?
I don't think so. I'm looking forward to another great season. I guess one quick
Yeah.
thing, if people don't know, downtown they're going to be redoing behind our store. They're going to be burying the electric lines and redoing like curbs and that whole parking lot there. So it kind of matches, I believe, is what I'm being told, what it looks like on the other side behind,
Right.
like Emo's and that whole stretch back there.
Yeah.
And so there will be some construction going on. They're actually building like a little corral behind the store for like my trailer, which has extra like supplies and stuff in it.
Oh, that's cool.
And so there'll be some new little changes, and then
But business as usual while they're working.
yeah, I mean, I haven't been told that we won't be able to.
Right.
So everything will be until I find out that it's not.
And one other thing we probably should mention, like having that parking lot next to you, like a lot of things have changed since you've been there.
Well,
like,
now there's like seating down there on the corner that, that isn't us, but it's available for everyone, and that's awesome. That whole area, I mean, the village does a great job at finding opportunities to enhance the image, enhance the experience, enhance everything.
It's continual improvement of the way everything looks, or they see an opportunity to go, well, that's a waste of space, or they can make it better or more for the community. I think they do a great job.
Yeah, it's a great community to live in.
Love it. Well, thank you very much again. I appreciate you. Grayslake, thank you guys so much for listening. Do me a favor, wherever you guys are at, whether you're hopefully you're not living on it, but if you're listening on Spotify, whether on Apple, whether on YouTube, wherever you guys are listening, do me a favor and subscribe. That way, every Tuesday, you get to meet a new person from Grayslake, and I encourage people to listen to people you don't know. I think it's really cool to get to know our business owners, our people in the community, because I think it just brings everybody closer together. And as I always end, we never know what our friends or family are going through. We never know what the person serving ice cream is going through, or on there looking through the customers are going through. So do me a favor, get out there and do one just random act of kindness, 2 different random acts of kindness today, whether it's holding the door or just being nice to a cashier at the grocery store, or just smile. Be friendly. Kindness spreads like wildfire, so go be a good human. Grayslake, thank you so much for listening. John, thank you again, buddy.
Thank you.
And Grayslake, we will see you next Tuesday, everybody.